chosen one. Let me tell you something that most spiritual messages will never say. There is a difference between a blessing and an offer. A blessing lands on your life and asks nothing of you but gratitude. An offer lands on your life and asks you to decide, to move, to abandon the familiar direction and walk toward something your mind cannot map, but your spirit has never stopped reaching for. That is what is approaching you right now, not a comfort, a confrontation with your own potential. And I know a part of you just flinched. Because the last time you allowed yourself to believe that something significant was coming, it did not arrive. Or it arrived and you watched it pass because you were not positioned to receive it. That memory has been governing you ever since, quietly, strategically, convincing you that the safest life is the smallest one. But your windshield wipers are still running in the sunshine. The storm you are bracing against ended further back than you realize, and the offer that is now moving toward you does not need the person who survived. It needs the person who was always underneath the survival. By the end of this journey, you will know what this offer contains, why it was delayed until now, and the single shift that prepares you to carry something this good, because that is what you have never been warned about. Good can be heavy, and you are about to find out what it weighs. Now, I want you to think of your life as a journey guided by a navigation system you cannot see. For years, maybe even decades, you have been hearing that quiet voice in the background, whispering one word, recalculating, over and over, every closed door, every failed plan, every relationship that crumbled, when you thought it was solid, recalculating, and you thought the system was broken. You thought something was wrong with you, because the destination never seemed to arrive. But what if the system was never broken? What if the road ahead of you was still being built? And every time that voice said recalculating, it was not a sign of failure. It was a sign that your real path was not ready yet. Today, I am going to show you the new route. And by the time this message is complete, 3 things will have happened. You will see the evidence that this offer is already moving toward you. You will receive a tool, a specific framework that separates divine offers from distractions, so you never waste another year walking toward the wrong door again. And before this journey ends, I will speak an activation over your life. Not a regular prayer, a commissioning, the kind that seals a new direction into your spirit so deeply that the old one loses its grip forever. You are not here because you stumbled onto this. Something far older than chance guided you to this exact moment. And what I am about to walk you through will take time. This is not a 5-minute encouragement. This is a full journey. And the reason it is long is because what is coming for you is too important to rush. So stay with me. Every part of what follows was designed for someone in your exact position. If you felt something shift inside you when I described the difference between a blessing and an offer, if something in your spirit just whispered, yes, type 777, let that be your first agreement with what is unfolding. But before I show you the offer itself, I need to show you the evidence that it is already near, because divine offers do not arrive without announcement. They send signals ahead of themselves. And right now, your life is full of those signals. You just have not known what to call them. There are 7 signs that a divine offer is approaching, and I want you to pay close attention, because the more of these you recognize in your own life, the clearer your position becomes. The first sign is restlessness without reason, and I do not mean the normal restlessness of a busy mind. I mean the kind that sits deeper, the kind that makes you unable to settle into a life that used to be perfectly comfortable. You come home from work, and you sit in your car for an extra few minutes before going inside. Not because anything is wrong in there, but because something in you has outgrown what is in there. You stare at the ceiling at night, and your mind is not racing with problems. It is reaching for something. Something you cannot name, cannot describe, cannot even see yet. But you feel its pull the way the ocean feels the moon, even when the sky is dark. And the world calls this anxiety. Your doctor might call it stress. But what if it is neither? What if this restlessness is your spirit recognizing that the offer is close and your current container is too small to hold it? That restlessness is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is a sign that something is activating inside you. The second sign is that your tolerance has collapsed. Things you used to accept without question now make your skin crawl. Conversations that used to feel normal now feel draining. People who used to energize you now exhaust you after 10 minutes. Environments you spent years in now feel like rooms with no windows, and you have been beating yourself up about it. You have been telling yourself that you are becoming cold or ungrateful or difficult, but that is not what is happening. Your frequency shifted, and when your frequency shifts, everything that does not match it begins to feel unbearable. It is not that the world got worse, it is that you got more aligned. And alignment makes misalignment impossible to ignore. The third sign is that your mind keeps projecting forward. Without your permission, without any conscious effort, your thoughts keep drifting to a future that does not exist yet. You catch yourself imagining a different kind of life, not a fantasy, something more specific than that. A different daily rhythm, a different kind of work, a different quality of relationship, a different version of yourself, walking through a world that actually fits. And when these thoughts come, a strange ache follows. Not pain exactly, more like homesickness for a place you have never been. Let me tell you why that keeps happening. Your spirit is already in contact with the offer. The offer has not arrived in physical form yet, but the frequency of it is already reaching you, and your mind is doing the only thing it knows how to do with information it cannot fully process. It is projecting it forward as imagination, but it is not imagination. It is preview. The fourth sign is that your prayers have changed. Pay close attention to this one because it is the most telling. 6 months ago, your prayers sounded like this. Help me survive, help me get through, help me hold on. But recently, without anyone telling you to change them, your prayers shifted. Now they sound more like this. Show me the way, open the right doors, lead me to what is mine. That is not a small change. That is an entirely different conversation with the divine. The first prayer is the prayer of someone in survival mode. The second prayer is the prayer of someone whose spirit already knows the offer is near and is asking for guidance on how to receive it. You changed your prayers because your position changed. You moved from endurance to expectation, and you did not even realize it. Now, these 4 signs alone would be enough to confirm that something is shifting in your life. But the next 3 are different. The next 3 are the ones that prove this is not just a shift. It is an offer. The 5th sign is friction in your relationships that has no obvious cause. The people around you have started reacting to you differently, not because you did anything wrong, but because you changed, and they can feel it even if they cannot name it. Some of them pull away. Some of them pick fights over nothing. Some of them suddenly have opinions about your choices that they never had before. And this confusion makes you wonder if you are the problem. But you are not the problem. You are the variable that changed in an equation that used to be stable. And when one variable changes, the entire equation has to recalculate. Some relationships will adjust. Some will not survive the recalculation. And the ones that do not survive are not casualties of your growth. They are confirmations that your direction is shifting. The 6th sign is patterns that refuse to be ignored. Numbers that repeat. 11, 11, 3, 33, 44. Songs that play at the exact moment you needed those words. Conversations you overhear between strangers that answer the question you asked in your prayer that morning. Books that fall into your hands at precisely the right season. These are not coincidences. These are coordinates. The navigation system I told you about at the beginning, the one that has been recalculating your entire life, it communicates through patterns. And when the patterns increase in frequency and intensity, it means the destination is getting closer. The seventh sign is navigational imagery in your dreams. You are dreaming about roads, about doors, about hallways with light at the end, about standing at crossroads and not knowing which way to turn, about driving on highways you have never seen before, about walking into rooms that feel unfamiliar but somehow feel like home. Your subconscious mind is processing the approach of the offer in the only language it has while you sleep. It is showing you paths because a path is about to open. It is showing you doors because a door is about to appear. And the fact that you keep waking up from these dreams with a feeling that something is about to happen is not your imagination playing tricks. It is your deepest knowing confirming what your waking mind is still afraid to believe. Now, I want you to stop for a moment and think about what I just described. 7 signs. Restlessness without reason, tolerance collapse, involuntary future projection, changed prayers, relational friction without cause, repeating patterns, navigational dreams. If you recognized 4 or more of those signs in your own life right now, this message was not placed in front of you randomly. You are in position, and what comes next is going to show you exactly what you are in position for. But before I reveal the offer itself, I need to teach you something that could save you years of wasted effort. Because here is what most chosen ones get wrong about the signs I just described. They assume that every open door is their door. They assume that every opportunity that arrives after a season of waiting must be the answer to their prayers. And that assumption has cost more chosen ones their destiny than any enemy ever could. Not every open door is your door. Not every opportunity is your offer. Sometimes the most dangerous thing that can happen to a chosen one is a good opportunity that arrives at the wrong time. I call these decoy offers. They look like the real thing. They feel exciting. They come with all the right packaging, but they are designed to pull you off your true path right before the real offer arrives. So, how do you tell the difference? How do you know if what is in front of you is divine or a distraction? There are 3 characteristics that separate a true divine offer from a decoy, and I want you to memorize these because they will protect you for the rest of your life. The first characteristic is cost. A true divine offer always costs something. It costs comfort. It costs familiarity. It costs the approval of people who like the old version of you. A decoy offer is easy. It slides into your life without friction, without sacrifice, without any demand that you become more than you currently are. And that ease is the trap, because growth never arrives in comfortable packaging. If an opportunity requires nothing of you, it is probably offering nothing to you. The second characteristic is identity alignment. A true divine offer aligns with who you are becoming, not just who you are right now. It feels slightly too big, slightly too bold, slightly beyond your current capacity, and that stretch is intentional. It is designed to pull the real you forward. A decoy offer, on the other hand, flatters who you already are. It tells you that you are enough exactly as you are and that no further growth is required. And while that sounds kind, it is the most dangerous lie a chosen one can believe. Because you were not designed to stay who you are. You were designed to become who you were always meant to be. And the real offer knows that. The third characteristic is the peace underneath the fear. This is the most important one, so hear me clearly. A true divine offer will scare you. It will. There is no way around it. But underneath that fear, if you sit still long enough, you will find peace, a quiet knowing, a settled certainty that has nothing to do with logic and everything to do with alignment. A decoy offer also creates excitement, but underneath that excitement, if you are honest with yourself, there is anxiety, a subtle nervousness, a feeling that something does not quite fit even though the surface looks perfect. Fear with peace underneath it is the signature of a divine offer. Excitement with anxiety underneath it is the signature of a decoy. And right now, I need to ask you something directly. Is there something in your life right now, something that arrived recently, or something you have been considering, that you know deep down is a distraction dressed as an opportunity? If something just came to mind, pay attention to that. Your spirit answered faster than your mind could argue. If something just became clearer for you, if a fog just lifted even slightly, type the words, "I see it now." Let that be your second agreement with the truth that is building inside of you. Now, think back to the navigation metaphor I gave you at the beginning. Every recalculating you heard throughout your life was the system correcting you away from a decoy. Every closed door, every failed plan, every opportunity that fell through at the last minute was not punishment. It was the GPS keeping you off the wrong exit ramp. And I know that is hard to hear when you are sitting in the pain of what did not work out. But the detour was never a mistake. The detour was the map. But here is what I have not told you yet. The reason this offer took so long to arrive, the reason you have spent what feels like an eternity in the wilderness, while others around you seem to move forward effortlessly. That reason has nothing to do with your worthiness. It has nothing to do with punishment. The delay was structural, intentional, engineered by something far wiser than your impatience. And in the next part, I am going to show you exactly what was being built inside of you while you thought nothing was happening. I am going to show you the architecture of your wilderness. And I promise you, by the time I am finished, you will not just understand the delay, you will be grateful for it. In the first part of this journey, I showed you 7 signs that a powerful offer is approaching your life. You learned the difference between a divine offer and a decoy. You learned the 3 characteristics that separate destiny from distraction. And I left you with a question that I know has been sitting in your spirit ever since you heard it. Why the delay? Why did the offer take so long? Why have you been standing in the wilderness while the world seemed to move on without you? The answer to that question is going to do something unexpected to you. It is going to make you grateful for the worst years of your life. Think back to the navigation metaphor while you were sitting in what felt like an endless traffic jam, confused, frustrated, watching other people speed past you on roads that seemed to open effortlessly for them. Something was happening ahead. The highway you were meant to drive on was still being constructed. The destination that was designed for you required a road that did not exist yet. And so, you waited. Not because you were forgotten, not because you were unworthy, but because the road was not ready for the weight of what you would carry on it. And here is the part that is going to reframe everything. While the road ahead was being built, something else was being built at the same time. You. Every year of that wilderness, every month of that confusion, every night of that silence, when heaven seemed to have lost your address, something was being constructed inside of you that could not have been built in any other environment. I want to show you 5 things that were being built in you during the delay. And once you see them, the entire narrative of your suffering changes. The first thing that was being built was discernment, the ability to recognize the real offer when it arrives. I just spent an entire section teaching you the difference between a divine offer and a decoy. But that teaching would have been useless 5 years ago. Do you know why? Because 5 years ago, you would have chased every decoy that looked promising. 5 years ago, you did not have the scars that taught you to look beneath the surface. You did not have the heartbreak that trained your spirit to feel the difference between real peace and manufactured excitement. The wilderness did not make you weaker, it made you wiser. And that wisdom is the first requirement for receiving what is coming. Because the offer that is approaching your life is so valuable, so precisely aligned with your purpose, that, without discernment, you would mistake it for just another opportunity and treat it casually. The wilderness made sure you would never do that. The second thing that was being built was capacity, the ability to hold what is coming without being crushed by it. Have you ever watched someone receive a massive blessing they were not ready for? A sudden promotion that overwhelmed them? A relationship so good it terrified them into self-sabotage? Financial provision so large it created anxiety instead of peace? That is what happens when the gift arrives before the vessel is expanded. And the wilderness was expanding your vessel. Every disappointment stretched you. Every loss hollowed out space inside you that will now be filled with something better. Every night you lay awake, wondering if you could take one more day of waiting, was a night your capacity grew without you knowing it. You did not just survive the wilderness, you were being renovated from the inside out. The third thing that was being built was character. Specifically, the kind of character that can support a divine assignment without collapsing under its weight. Think of it like a building. You can build a 3-story building on a shallow foundation. But if you want to build something that stands 20 stories high, something that reaches into the sky and changes the skyline of a city, the foundation has to go deep. Deep enough that it takes years to complete. Deep enough that for a long time, everyone walking past the construction site sees nothing but a hole in the ground and thinks nothing is happening. Your wilderness was the foundation pour, and I know it looked like nothing was happening. But beneath the surface, something was being laid that will hold the weight of everything you are about to carry. The fourth thing that was being built was independence from approval, and this one matters more than you realize. The offer that is approaching your life will require you to say yes without consulting a committee. It will require you to change direction when the people around you think you are being foolish. It will require you to trust something they cannot see and follow a voice they cannot hear. And if you still need their permission to make the right decision, you will never make it. The wilderness stripped that need away. It did not strip it gently. It stripped it through loneliness, through misunderstanding, through seasons where the people you trusted most looked at you like you were losing your mind. But every one of those painful moments was training you to stand on your own conviction. And that independence is the fourth pillar of your readiness. The fifth thing that was being built was tolerance for discomfort. Because the new direction is not going to feel comfortable, not at first. It is going to feel unfamiliar. It is going to require you to walk terrain you have never walked before, to make decisions in conditions you have never navigated, to carry responsibilities that make your old life look simple by comparison. And if you had never endured discomfort, if your entire life had been ease and predictability, the first taste of difficulty on the new path would have sent you running back to the old one. But the wilderness trained your nervous system for exactly this. It taught you that you can survive what you cannot understand. It taught you that confusion is not the same as failure. It taught you that discomfort does not mean you are in the wrong place. Sometimes discomfort means you are in exactly the right place and your body just has not caught up with your spirit yet. Now, I want you to sit with something for a moment. Before I continue, gently press the like button, not for me, so that this message reaches someone else who is still standing in their wilderness tonight, someone who needs to know that the construction is almost finished and the road is nearly ready. 5 things discernment, capacity, character, independence from approval, tolerance for discomfort. These were not accidents. These were not random byproducts of a hard life. These were engineered outcomes of a divinely orchestrated wilderness season, and every single one of them is a prerequisite for what is about to land in your life. Let me show you what I mean, through a story that has been told for thousands of years, but is almost always misunderstood. There was a young man named Joseph, and if you know his story, you know the surface version. Betrayed by his brothers, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused, imprisoned, forgotten. 13 years between the promise he was given as a teenager and the day that promise was fulfilled. 13 years of what looked like absolute failure. But here is what most people miss about those 13 years. Every single one of them was a construction zone. In his father's house, Joseph learned to dream. But dreams without execution are just pleasant sleep. In Potiphar's house, Joseph learned administration, how to manage resources, how to lead people, how to turn chaos into order. In prison, Joseph learned patience, the kind of patience that cannot be taught in a classroom because it can only be forged in a cage. And he learned interpretation, not just of dreams, but of the invisible patterns beneath the surface of visible events. So when the offer finally came, when Pharaoh stood before him with a dream nobody else could decode and a kingdom nobody else could manage, Joseph was not lucky. He was ready. Every single skill the offer required had been built during the delay. The pit taught him resilience, the slavery taught him systems, the prison taught him timing, and the betrayal taught him that the people who try to bury you are often the ones who plant you. And this is not just Joseph's story. This is your story. What felt like betrayal in your life was actually positioning. What felt like delay was actually development. What felt like isolation was actually incubation. What felt like rejection was actually redirection. And what felt like the end, that season where you truly believed it was over, where you could not see a single reason to keep going, that was actually the deepest foundation pour of your entire life. The foundation on which everything you are about to receive will stand. Now, Joseph's story alone would be enough to understand why the offer was delayed. But there is a second layer to the formation that nobody talks about, and it is the reason most chosen ones almost miss their offer when it finally arrives. Here is what I mean. The wilderness does not just build things inside you, it also strips things away. Specifically, it strips away identities that do not belong to you. False identities. Identities that were given to you by pain, by rejection, by the systems and people who told you who you were before you had the chance to decide for yourself. And the offer that is coming, the one that will change your direction, it is addressed to your real name. Not the name pain gave you, not the name failure gave you, not the name comparison gave you. Your real name. The one that was yours before the world started editing it. And here is the problem. If you are still living under a false name, you will not recognize the offer when it arrives, because it is not addressed to the person you have been pretending to be. It is addressed to the person you actually are. Let me show you 3 false identities that the wilderness had to strip away before you could receive what is coming. The first false identity is the one who waits. This is the identity that was built over years of patience turning into passivity. At some point, you crossed a line that nobody warned you about. You went from faithfully waiting for divine timing to passively accepting that nothing would ever change. Waiting became your personality. Endurance became your identity. And while patience is a virtue, passivity, disguised as patience, is a prison. The offer that is approaching does not need you to wait anymore. It needs you to respond. It needs you to move, and it needs you to recognize that the season of waiting is over, even if your body still remembers how to sit still. The second false identity is the one who serves but never receives. This one is deeply embedded. You are the person everyone comes to, the listener, the helper, the one who holds space for everyone else's pain while quietly drowning in your own. And somewhere along the way, you decided that your role in life was to give, only to give. That receiving was for other people. That asking for something for yourself was selfish. But that is not humility. That is a wound dressed up as a virtue. And the offer that is coming cannot land in the hands of someone who has trained themselves to keep their hands closed. You are going to have to open them. You are going to have to receive. And receiving might be the hardest thing you have ever done. The third false identity is the one who is almost there. This is the most subtle and the most dangerous. You have spent your entire life on the threshold, always close, always nearly, always one step away from the thing you have been reaching for. And after enough time on the threshold, you started to believe that the threshold was your home. That almost was as far as you were meant to go. That standing at the door was your permanent position, but you were never meant to live on the threshold. You were never designed to be almost. You arrived at the door a long time ago. You just kept standing there instead of walking through it. The wilderness was stripping these identities away, not gently. It never does it gently, but necessarily, because you cannot change direction while you are still wearing the costume of someone who was built for the old one. And this brings me to something I need to teach you about the very word that describes what this offer is asking of you, the word direction. More specifically, the word that has been used across thousands of years to describe the moment when a human being changes course. In the original Hebrew, there is a word that most people translate as repentance. The word is Shub. But Shub does not mean feeling sorry. It does not mean guilt. It does not mean beating yourself up for past mistakes. The literal meaning of Shub is to turn, to physically change the direction you are facing, to pivot. When the ancient texts say, "Return to me," they are not asking for tears. They are not asking for shame. They are asking for a direction change. Turn around. Face the new way. Walk toward what you were always meant to walk toward. And that is exactly what this offer is asking of you. Not guilt, not regret, not an apology for how long it took you to get here. Just a turn, a pivot, a willingness to face a new direction and take the first step. And it is not just you going through this turning. Right now, all across the world, in every time zone, on every continent, chosen ones are being stripped of false identities and prepared for the same kind of pivot. You are not alone in this process. You are part of something much larger than your individual story. If you are ready to release the identity that was never yours, if something inside you is saying yes to the stripping, yes to the turning, yes to the real name that has been buried under years of survival, type the words, "I release." Let those two words be the sound of a chain hitting the floor. Now, you have seen the signs. You have understood the formation. You have recognized the false identities that had to be removed. But there is a pattern hidden in all of this that goes far beyond your individual experience. Across centuries, across continents, across every wisdom tradition humanity has ever recorded, the exact same sequence repeats before a divine offer arrives. And once you see this pattern, you will never be able to unsee it. You will look at your own life and suddenly understand that everything, every painful chapter, every confusing detour, every closed door was following a blueprint that has been used since the beginning of recorded history. In the next part, I am going to lay that pattern out for you, stage by stage, figure by figure, century by century. And when I am finished, you will not just believe the offer is real. You will know it, because you will see your own life reflected in a pattern that has never once failed to deliver. In the next part, I am going to lay that pattern out for you, stage by stage, figure by figure, century by century. And when I am finished, you will not just believe the offer is real. You will know it, because you will see your own life reflected in a pattern that has never once failed to deliver. So, let me show you something now that will change how you see every sacred text, every wisdom story, every historical turning point you have ever heard about, because there is a pattern, not a vague similarity, not a loose connection, a precise, repeatable, 5-stage sequence that plays out every single time the divine extends a powerful offer to a human being. It played out thousands of years ago. It played out hundreds of years ago, and it is playing out right now, in your life, whether you see it yet or not. I call this the offer arrival pattern, 5 stages. Every chosen one in recorded history has walked through all 5 before their direction changed. And once you see it, you will understand exactly where you are standing right now. The first stage is disruption. Every divine offer begins with the comfortable being disturbed, not destroyed. Disturbed. Something that was stable suddenly shifts. Something that was predictable suddenly stops making sense. The ground beneath your feet does not open up all at once. It just starts to feel less solid, and you look around, and nobody else seems to notice the trembling. Only you. Abraham was living a settled life in a place called Ur. It was not a bad life. It was safe. It was known. It was predictable. And then a voice he had never heard before told him to leave everything he knew and walk toward a place he could not see. No map, no address, no guarantee, just a voice and a direction. Moses was tending sheep in Midian, 40 years removed from the life he once knew in Egypt, settled into obscurity, comfortable in his irrelevance. And then a bush caught fire and did not burn, and a voice came from the flames that disrupted everything he had accepted about himself. Esther was a young woman, hidden in a palace, concealing her true identity, navigating a world that did not know who she really was. And then a decree was issued that threatened everything she cared about, and the comfortable hiding she had built was disrupted in a single day. Joseph was the favorite son, dreaming dreams, wearing a coat that set him apart. And then his brothers threw him into a pit, not metaphorically, a literal pit in the ground. And the life he knew ended before he was old enough to understand why. Disruption, that is how it always begins. And if you look back at your own life, you will find it. The moment when the stable became unstable, the moment when the ground shifted, that was not an accident. That was stage 1. The second stage is isolation. After the disruption, every chosen one is separated from their familiar support system, not as punishment, as preparation, because the offer that is coming will require you to hear a voice that is easily drowned out by the noise of the crowd. And you cannot hear it clearly until the crowd thins. Abraham left his family and his homeland. Moses spent 40 years in a desert with nothing but sheep and silence. Esther was alone in a palace where she could not reveal who she really was to anyone. Joseph went from the pit to slavery to prison, each step taking him further from every person who knew his real name. And you, think about the last few years. How many relationships have fallen away? How many circles have shrunk? How many rooms that used to feel like home now feel like places you are just visiting? That isolation was not rejection. It was the second stage of the pattern, doing exactly what it has always done, creating the quiet that the offer needs to be heard. The third stage is formation. This is the one we covered in detail in the previous part, but I need you to see it now inside the pattern so you understand that it is not random. It is structural. It is the stage where the wilderness builds what comfort never could. Joseph learned administration in Potiphar's house and timing in prison. Moses learned patience in Midian and the geography of the desert he would later navigate for an entire nation. Esther learned palace protocol and the art of influence in a world that underestimated her. Abraham learned to walk by faith over terrain he had never seen, building the spiritual endurance that would sustain him through decades of waiting for a promise that seemed biologically impossible. Formation is the longest stage. It is the one where most people quit because it looks like nothing is happening. But everything is happening. The skills are being sharpened, the character is being forged, the vessel is being expanded, and the offer is being calibrated to match the exact dimensions of the person being built. The fourth stage is the offer itself. And here is what you need to understand about this stage, because it is the one that catches almost everyone off guard. The offer arrives suddenly. After years of preparation, after what feels like an eternity of waiting, the offer does not send a formal invitation. It does not give you 2 weeks to think it over. It shows up in ordinary clothing and asks for an immediate response. For Moses, the offer was a burning bush in the middle of a regular workday. For Joseph, the offer was a confused king who needed a dream interpreted at a moment's notice. For Esther, the offer was Mordecai standing at the gate, saying 4 words that changed everything. For such a time as this. For Abraham, the offer was a covenant, a sacred agreement that required him to believe something his body and his logic told him was impossible. In every case, the offer arrived wearing ordinary clothes: a bush, a dream, a message from a relative, a conversation. Nothing dramatic from the outside, everything seismic from within. And in every case, the offer required a response before the full picture was visible. Moses did not know where the Exodus would lead. Joseph did not know he would become the second most powerful man in the known world. Esther did not know she would survive approaching the king uninvited. Abraham did not know how a 100-year-old man would become a father. They said yes before they could see the ending, and that is exactly what your offer will require of you. The fifth stage is the direction change. Once the offer is accepted, everything pivots, not gradually, suddenly. Joseph went from prisoner to prime minister. Moses went from shepherd to liberator. Esther went from hidden girl to the savior of an entire people. Abraham went from a childless wanderer to the patriarch of nations. And notice something about every one of these direction changes. They did not just affect the person who received the offer. They changed the trajectory of everyone connected to them. Joseph's direction change saved an entire region from famine. Moses freed an entire nation. Esther preserved an entire bloodline. Abraham's yes echoed across thousands of years of human history. Your direction change will do the same. Not on the same scale, perhaps, or perhaps on a larger one than you can currently imagine. But the offer that is approaching your life is not just about you. It never was. It is about everyone who is connected to your obedience. Now, 5 stages: disruption, isolation, formation, the offer, the direction change. This is the pattern, and it has never failed. Not once in the entire recorded history of humanity has this pattern begun without completing. And here is where I need you to be very honest with yourself. Map your life onto these 5 stages. Where are you right now? Stage 1, disruption. That happened. You know exactly when it happened. You can probably name the year, the month, maybe even the day when the comfortable life you had built started crumbling. Stage 2, isolation. That happened too. The friends who left, the relationships that dissolved, the loneliness that moved in and unpacked its bags like it planned to stay forever. Stage 3. Formation. You have been living in this stage for longer than you want to admit. Waiting, building without knowing what you are building, enduring without understanding the purpose of the endurance, which means you are at the doorstep of stage 4. The offer is next, not in some distant future, not in another decade. The pattern that has played out for thousands of years across every wisdom tradition on Earth says the offer comes after the formation is complete. And I just showed you that your formation has been building 5 specific things inside you that are now finished. You are not approaching stage 4. You are standing at its front door. Let me tell you about a woman who stood at the same door not long ago. 47 years old, 22 years in the same career. Not because she loved it, because she had built her entire identity around being reliable, consistent, stable. The person everyone could count on because she would never change, never leave, never disrupt the system. And then on a regular Tuesday, seemingly from nowhere, an opportunity appeared that would require her to relocate to a city she had never visited. To start over in a field she had only explored in her imagination, to abandon the only professional identity she had ever known. Everything in her screamed stay. Her friends told her she was being reckless. Her family told her she was having a crisis. Her own mind presented 100 logical reasons why the safe path was the smart path. But something deeper than logic, something quieter than fear, something she could not explain to anyone who asked, told her to move. She moved. Within 18 months, she was doing work that made her weep with gratitude. Not because it was easy, because it was hers. For the first time in 22 years, she was not performing a role. She was living a purpose. And she told me something I will never forget. She said, "Every cell in my body wanted to stay safe, but something deeper than my cells told me to move." That woman proved what every wisdom figure before her proved. The offer does not wait until you feel ready. It arrives when you are ready, even if your feelings have not caught up with your readiness yet. And you are ready. Not because I say so, because the pattern says so. Because 3 stages of your life confirm it. Because everything I have described in this message has been describing your life with a precision that cannot be coincidence. If you recognize where you are in the pattern, if you can see that you have walked through disruption, through isolation, through formation, and you are standing now at the edge of stage 4, type the words stage 4. Let that declaration mark this moment. Let it be a timestamp in your journey that you can look back on and say, that was the moment I knew. Now, everything I have shown you so far, the signs, the formation, the 5-stage pattern, all of it points to one unavoidable conclusion. The offer is near. Your position in the pattern confirms it. The signs in your life confirm it. The formation you have walked through confirms it. But there is a 4th revelation that goes even deeper than the pattern. And it is the one that most people are never told. Because it involves something that was taken from you before you were old enough to protect it. Something that was active in your brain when you were a child. Something that made learning effortless and intuition sharp and creativity endless and every day feel like an adventure with no ceiling. And somewhere around the age of 7, the modern world quietly, systematically turned it off. And here is why this matters for the offer. That thing that was turned off inside you is the very mechanism your brain needs to recognize a divine offer when it arrives. Without it, your brain processes every new opportunity through a filter of fear instead of a filter of possibility. Without it, you freeze when you should move. You doubt when you should decide. You stay when you should go. Scientists at MIT and Princeton have identified it. They have measured it. They have given it a name. and they have discovered that it can be reactivated. In the next part, I am going to show you what it is, why the modern world suppressed it, and what happens inside your brain when it comes back online. And then, I am going to show you the one obstacle that will try to stop you from receiving the offer, even after your brain is recalibrated. Because the final battle is not neurological, it is emotional, and it involves a type of guilt that no one has ever warned you about. There is a reason you just felt a chill when I mentioned something that was taken from you as a child. And there is a reason that phrase landed with such weight. Because, deep down, beneath years of coping and adjusting and telling yourself that this is just how adulthood works, a part of you has always known that something was missing, something you once had, something that made the world feel different when you were young. So let me show you what it is. And I need you to stay with me through this part, because what I am about to explain is not spiritual theory. It is neuroscience. Published, peer-reviewed, measured in laboratories at some of the most respected institutions on Earth. And when you understand it, everything about your struggle will finally make sense. Your brain operates on different frequencies. Think of it like a radio. Different stations play different kinds of music, and your brain has different stations too. Some frequencies are slow, like the ones that run when you are deeply asleep. Some are moderate, like the ones that run during routine tasks. And then there is one frequency that sits at the very top, the fastest frequency your brain can produce. Scientists call it the gamma wave. Gamma is not just another brainwave. Gamma is the frequency of genius, the frequency of flow state, the frequency that fires when a human being is operating at their absolute peak. Pattern recognition, intuition, creative breakthrough, the ability to see connections that other people miss, the sensation that the entire world suddenly makes sense, and every piece of information clicks into place, like a puzzle assembling itself in real time. That is gamma. And here is the part that changed everything when researchers at institutions like MIT and Harvard and Princeton started studying it. Every child on Earth is born with abundant gamma activity. Every single one. That is why children learn languages in months that take adults years. That is why a 5-year-old can pick up a musical instrument and play by ear within weeks. That is why children are endlessly creative, endlessly curious, endlessly resilient. Their brains are running on the highest frequency available to the human mind. And then something happens. Around the age of 7, gamma activity begins to decline. Not because of disease, not because of injury, because of the modern world itself. The educational system that rewards memorization over intuition, the social conditioning that punishes creativity and rewards compliance, the screen saturation that trains the brain to consume instead of create, the stress of a world that was never designed for the frequency you were born to carry. Scientists call this the decline effect, and it does not happen to everyone equally. This is where it gets personal, because chosen ones, people like you, were not born with average gamma. You were born with gamma levels significantly above the median. That is why, when you were young, you were not just smart, you were different. You learned faster than the kids around you. You felt things deeper. You sensed dynamics in a room that adults could not perceive. You had intuitions that turned out to be accurate in ways that made the people around you uncomfortable. Teachers did not know what to do with you. You asked questions they could not answer. You saw through explanations that satisfied everyone else. And people called it a gift, but science calls it gamma. And because your gamma was higher than average, when the decline effect hit, it hit you harder. The distance between who you were as a child and who you became as an adult is greater for you than for the people around you. That is why you feel it so acutely, that specific ache. The sense that you were built for something larger, but you cannot seem to reach it. The feeling that there is a version of you that exists just out of frame, just beyond the edge of what you can access, and no matter how hard you try, you cannot pull it into focus. That is not depression, that is not failure. That is the gap between your suppressed gamma and your original gamma, and you have been living in that gap for years, maybe decades, without anyone telling you what it was or why it was there. As a child, ideas flowed through you like water through an open channel. As an adult, ideas feel like they are trapped behind a dam you cannot find. As a child, decisions were instant because your brain processed information at the speed of gamma. As an adult, decisions paralyze you because your brain is operating at survival frequency instead of genius frequency. As a child, the future felt infinite and every direction felt possible. As an adult, the future feels threatening and every direction feels risky. This is not maturity. This is not what growing up is supposed to feel like. This is gamma suppression, and it has been running your life without your permission. Now let me connect this to the offer, because this is not just a neuroscience lecture. This is the missing piece that explains why you have been struggling to change direction, even when you know the change is necessary. There is an ancient Greek word that captures exactly what is happening in your brain right now. The word is kairos. In Greek, there are two words for time. The first is chronos. Chronos is clock time, the kind that ticks, the kind you measure in hours and days and years, the kind that feels like it is dragging when you are in the wilderness and flying when you are in a season of joy. But the second word for time is kairos, and kairos does not tick. Kairos is the appointed moment, the convergence point, the instant when all conditions align for something extraordinary to happen. Kairos is the moment the burning bush ignites. The moment Pharaoh has the dream, the moment Mordecai sends the message, the moment the offer arrives. Your offer operates in kairos. It is not bound by the clock, it is bound by readiness. And it arrives at the precise second when the formation is complete and the receiver is prepared. But here is the problem. Your brain has been trapped in chronos, survival frequency, clock time, linear thinking, fear-based processing, and a chronos brain cannot process a kairos offer. It does not have the bandwidth. It does not have the pattern recognition. It does not have the speed. A kairos moment arrives, and your chronos brain does the only thing it knows how to do. It freezes. It doubts. It overanalyzes. It waits for more information that will never come, because kairos moments do not wait for analysis. They wait for response. This is why you have been struggling. Not because you lack faith, not because you are spiritually immature, not because the divine has been withholding from you, but because the hardware, the actual neurological equipment you need to recognize and respond to the offer, has been operating below capacity since you were 7 years old. Let me say that differently, so you hear it in your bones. Your hesitation is not weakness. Your indecision is not a character flaw. Your inability to pull the trigger on the changes you know you need to make is not evidence that you are broken. It is a neurological response to gamma suppression. Your brain is doing exactly what a suppressed brain is designed to do. It is keeping you safe by keeping you small. And I need to ask you something right now. When was the last time you made a decision that felt clear, instant, and completely aligned? Not in the last year. Not in the last 5 years. Think back further. Was it when you were younger? Was it in a season when something in your brain was still fully active that has since gone quiet? Now, here is why this matters for the offer that is approaching your life. The offer is a kairos event. It will not arrive on a schedule. It will not send you a calendar invite. It will not give you 6 months to prepare a pros and cons list. It will show up wearing ordinary clothes, the same way the burning bush looked like just another bush until it caught fire. And in that moment, you will need your gamma. You will need the pattern recognition to see that this is not just another opportunity. You will need the intuition to feel the peace underneath the fear. You will need the decisiveness to say yes before your analytical mind has finished listing reasons to say no. And right now, your gamma is suppressed, which means the most important offer of your life could be standing right in front of you, and your brain would process it as just another option in a sea of options. Not because the offer is not powerful enough, but because your receiver is not tuned to the right frequency. But it can be retuned. That is what the research shows. The decline effect is not permanent. Gamma can be reactivated. The frequency you were born with, the one that made childhood feel magical and learning feel effortless, and the future feel infinite, it was not destroyed, it was suppressed. And suppression can be reversed. But before I show you how, I need to address something that your mind is doing right now, because I know you. I know the voice that just activated in the back of your head. The voice that is saying, "This sounds too simple. This sounds too good. I have heard promises like this before, and nothing changed." And I want to honor that voice, because that voice is not your enemy. That voice was built by years of disappointment. Every time someone promised you a breakthrough and it did not come, every time you opened your heart to hope and hope left you standing alone, that voice learned to protect you by shutting down belief before it could hurt you again. But here is what I need you to understand. The things you tried before, the meditation, the sound healing, the apps, the retreats, they were not addressing the same mechanism. Meditation works on calming the nervous system. That is valuable, but it takes months, sometimes years, to shift brainwave patterns. And most people cannot sustain the discipline long enough to reach gamma activation through meditation alone. Sound healing works on emotional release, also valuable. But emotional release and gamma reactivation are two entirely different neurological processes. What I am talking about is something different. Direct brainwave entrainment. The technology that takes your brain from its current suppressed frequency and synchronizes it with gamma. Not over months, not over years, in minutes. This is not opinion. This is EEG data, measurable, repeatable, documented, across studies at Princeton, MIT, Stanford, Columbia, and the Einstein Center in Berlin. And there is a specific tool, a 7-minute audio track developed by a neuroscientist named Dr. Robert Lake, who spent 34 years studying exactly this phenomenon. A track that uses encoded brain entrainment technology to guide your neural activity from wherever it is right now, directly into the gamma frequency. Not through effort, not through willpower, through sound. But I am not going to tell you about that tool yet. Not in this part, because there is something you need to understand first. Something about the obstacle that stands between you and the offer. Because even if your brain was perfectly recalibrated, even if your gamma was firing at full capacity, there is one more thing that could stop you from saying yes when the offer arrives. And it is not neurological. It is emotional. And it is a type of guilt that nobody has ever named for you. A guilt so deeply embedded that you have probably mistaken it for morality. A guilt that will whisper to you in the exact moment when you need to move forward and tell you that moving forward makes you a bad person. And in the next part, I am going to show you that tool, the 7-minute recalibration I just described, and then I am going to expose the guilt that is waiting to ambush you at the threshold of your new direction, because the offer is close now, closer than it has ever been, and I will not let either your suppressed frequency or your misplaced guilt steal it from you. And in the next part, I am going to show you that tool, the 7-minute recalibration I just described, and then I am going to expose the guilt that is waiting to ambush you at the threshold of your new direction, because the offer is close now, closer than it has ever been, and I will not let either your suppressed frequency or your misplaced guilt steal it from you. So, let me deliver what I promised, the recalibration. I told you that gamma can be reactivated. I told you the decline effect is not permanent. And I told you there is a tool that does this directly, without months of meditation, without thousands of dollars in biofeedback equipment, without discipline that 90% of people cannot sustain. Now let me show you what that tool actually is and why it works. To understand this, you need to know how your brain was supposed to be recalibrated in a world before this technology existed. The traditional method is something called biofeedback therapy. You sit in a clinic. Electrodes are attached to your scalp. A technician monitors your brainwaves on a screen in real time and uses external stimuli to gradually shift your neural patterns toward the gamma frequency. It works. The research is clear on that. But a single session costs around $300, and most people need dozens of sessions before the shift becomes stable. If you want to do it at home, the equipment runs around $7,000. And even meditation, which is the oldest and most accessible path to gamma activation, requires months of consistent daily practice before measurable gamma changes appear on an EEG. Most people stop within 2 weeks. Not because they are weak, because life gets in the way, and the results take too long to feel. So for decades, gamma reactivation was essentially locked behind a wall made of money, time, and discipline that the average person could not climb. And then Dr. Robert Lake changed the equation. Dr. Lake is a neuroscientist with 34 years of research experience. His work focused on one question: is there a way to deliver the same brainwave synchronization that biofeedback achieves, but through sound alone? Not ambient music, not nature sounds, not the relaxation tracks you find online. A precisely engineered audio track that uses a technology called brain entrainment to guide your neural oscillations directly into the gamma frequency. The way a tuning fork causes a nearby string to vibrate at the same pitch, and he did it. He compressed the core mechanism of biofeedback therapy into a 7-minute digital audio track. You put on headphones, you sit or lie down, you listen, and within those 7 minutes, your brain begins synchronizing with the gamma frequency that was suppressed inside you since childhood. Not through effort, not through belief, through physics. The same physics that makes a tuning fork work. Your brain responds to the frequency it is exposed to, and when it is exposed to gamma, it begins producing gamma. He calls it the genius song. And I need to be honest with you about what it is and what it is not. It is not magic. It is not a miracle pill. It is not going to solve every problem in your life by tomorrow morning. What it is a recalibration device for a brain that has been operating below its designed capacity. Think of it this way. If your mind is a radio that has been stuck on a static channel for 20 or 30 years, this is the key that turns the dial back to the station you were born tuned to. The station where clarity lives, where intuition speaks without hesitation, where decisions feel clean instead of paralyzing, where the offer that has been invisible to your Chronos brain suddenly becomes unmistakable to your reactivated gamma. And here is what happened when real people started using it. Let me tell you about a man, 51 years old. He had been unemployed for nearly 2 years after his company downsized. not because he lacked skill, because something in his mind had gone foggy. He described walking into job interviews, feeling like his thoughts were wrapped in cotton. The words would not come. The sharpness he once had was gone. He told me it was like his brain was running at 30%, and he could not find the switch to turn it back up. 11 days after he began listening to this 7-minute track each morning, he received his first job offer. Not just any offer, a position better than the one he had lost. Better title, better compensation, better alignment with the work he actually wanted to do. And when I asked him what changed, he did not talk about his resume. He did not talk about networking. He pointed to his own head and he said, "I did not change anything out there. I changed something in here." The fog lifted. The words came back. The confidence came back. And people could feel the difference the moment I walked into the room. One man, 11 days, the same brain he had been carrying for 51 years, except now it was running on a frequency it had not accessed in decades. Now, I know what you might be thinking. $39. Is that real? Let me walk you through the math so you can decide with clear eyes. A single biofeedback session with a trained technician costs $300. One session. Most clinics recommend a minimum of 12. That is $3,600 just to start. If you want biofeedback equipment at home, so you can do it yourself on your own schedule, that runs around $7,000. A weekend meditation intensive that focuses on brainwave shifting costs between $200 and $500, plus travel, plus time off work. A mindfulness app subscription is about $100 a year, and most people open it 3 times before it becomes another icon they feel guilty about ignoring. Dr. Lake made a decision. He decided that the people who need this recalibration the most should not be the ones who cannot afford it. So, instead of the standard price of $49, he created a reduced price specifically for the audience receiving this message right now. $39. Not available on Amazon. Not available on Spotify. Not available anywhere else online. $39 for the 7-minute track, plus 4 additional tools that come with it at no extra cost. A genius child audio designed to support focus and confidence in children. The original book that inspired the film, known as The Secret, a book that sells for $20 on its own, but is included free. A guided visualization that walks you through 4 areas of your ideal life. And an infographic of the 5 most critical daily habits for sustaining the frequency shift. Something you can reference every single day. And everything, all of it, comes with a complete money-back guarantee. No time limit on trying it. No questions asked. If you listen and you feel nothing, you get every cent returned. The only risk is not trying. And I need to tell you something important about protecting yourself, because this tool has become well known enough that counterfeit versions have appeared online. Websites that use the name but do not contain the actual brain entrainment technology embedded in the audio. They are selling regular sound files with no scientific engineering behind them. They do not work, and they give people one more reason to believe that nothing works. The only way to ensure you receive the authentic track with the full technology, the 4 bonus tools, and the guarantee is through the link I have placed in the description and the pinned comment of this message. Do not search for it elsewhere. Do not trust any other source. If your spirit resonates with this recalibration, if what I have described about gamma and the decline effect and the suppressed frequency of your childhood makes something click inside your chest, the link is there. Only if you feel led. Now, I told you there were 2 things standing between you and the offer. The first was your suppressed gamma. We have addressed that. But the second obstacle is more dangerous. Because the first one is mechanical. It is a brainwave issue. You can fix it with technology. The second one is emotional, and no audio track in the world can fix it for you. You have to face it, you have to name it, and you have to release it yourself. I am talking about guilt, but not the kind you think. I am not talking about guilt over something you did wrong. I am not talking about moral guilt or religious guilt or the guilt of hurting someone. I am talking about a very specific kind of guilt that chosen ones carry, a guilt so deeply woven into your identity that you have probably never questioned whether it belongs to you. And this guilt has a name. It is called growth guilt. Growth guilt is what happens when you start to change and the people around you do not change with you. It is the sick feeling in your stomach when you realize that the direction you are being called toward will take you away from people you love. Not because you stop loving them, but because the road is only wide enough for someone who is willing to walk it, and they are not willing, or they are not ready, or they simply cannot see what you see, and the guilt starts whispering. Who do you think you are? You are going to just leave? You are going to just change? You are going to just become someone your own family does not recognize? What kind of person does that? And that whisper is loud enough to stop a chosen one dead in their tracks. At the exact moment when the offer arrives. At the exact moment when the direction change is available. That guilt rises up like a wall and says, you cannot go forward without hurting the people behind you. And so, you stay. You stay in the old direction. You stay in the old identity. You stay in the life that was finished 3 stages ago because the cost of leaving feels heavier than the cost of remaining. Let me name the specific guilt. Because guilt hides in vagueness and dies in specificity. You feel guilty for pulling away from people who used to have unlimited access to you. You feel guilty for not explaining why you have changed, because the truth is, you do not fully understand it yourself, and any explanation you give sounds selfish to people who are not on the same journey. You feel guilty for protecting your energy in ways that look like rejection to people who are used to you giving endlessly. You feel guilty for outgrowing conversations that used to nourish you, for outgrowing places that used to feel like home, for outgrowing versions of yourself that other people still expect you to be. You feel guilty for becoming someone that your old circle does not recognize. And underneath all of that, the deepest layer, you feel guilty because a part of you wonders if growth is just a pretty word for selfishness. It is not. And I need to say this so clearly that it reaches the place in you where that guilt lives. Boundaries are not betrayal. Protecting your energy is not rejection. Choosing a new direction is not abandoning the people in the old one. And silence. The kind of silence that comes when you stop explaining yourself to people who are not ready to understand. That silence is not cruelty. It is architecture. It is the framework of the new life being built around a frequency that not everyone can hear yet. Here is what I want you to receive right now. Not as advice, as permission. You are allowed to outgrow people. You are allowed to outgrow places. You are allowed to outgrow versions of yourself that served you well, but no longer fit. You are allowed to say no without writing a 5-paragraph essay explaining why. You are allowed to protect what is being built inside you, even when that protection disappoints people who expected permanent access. You are allowed to grieve the old season while walking into the new one. And you are allowed, you are fully and completely allowed, to become who you were always meant to be without apologizing to anyone for the transformation. Let me show you someone who faced this same guilt and walked through it anyway. Esther lived in a palace where she had built a safe life by hiding who she really was. She had learned the protocols, mastered the politics, earned her position, and everything was stable. And then the offer arrived. Mordecai stood at the gate and told her that an entire people were about to be destroyed, and she was the only one positioned to do something about it. And the guilt hit immediately. If she acted, she risked everything she had built. If she approached the king without being summoned, she could lose her life. If she revealed her true identity after years of concealment, every relationship in the palace would be disrupted. Every person who thought they knew her would feel deceived. The comfortable stability she had created for herself and everyone around her would shatter, and for a moment she hesitated. The guilt told her to stay quiet. The guilt told her that disrupting the peace was selfish. The guilt told her that safety was wisdom and risk was recklessness. But Mordecai said 4 words that cut through every layer of guilt she was carrying. For such a time as this, you were not placed in this position for your own comfort. You were placed here for this exact moment. And if you stay silent, if you let the guilt keep you frozen, the deliverance will come from another source, but you will have missed the reason you were positioned in the first place. Esther did not feel ready. Esther did not feel worthy. Esther felt the full weight of the guilt that comes with disrupting everything familiar. And she moved, anyway. And an entire people survived because one woman decided that the guilt of staying was greater than the guilt of going. After the guilt comes one more thing, doubt. And I want to name it before it names you, because doubt will arrive the moment you release the guilt. It is almost predictable. The guilt says, you should not move. And then, the moment you release the guilt, the doubt steps in and says, what if there is nothing on the other side? What if you leave everything behind and the offer turns out to be empty? What if you change direction and the new road leads nowhere? And here is the truth about doubt that I need you to hold on to. Doubt is not the opposite of faith. Doubt is faith with open eyes. It is the natural response of an honest mind encountering something too large to be fully understood before it is experienced. And the offer does not need you to be certain. It does not need you to have every answer. It does not need you to see the end from the beginning. It needs one thing from you: willingness. Just enough willingness to take the first step. Not the 10th step, not the 100th, the first. If those permission declarations reach something deep inside you, if you feel lighter right now than you did 5 minutes ago, type the words, I release the guilt. Let those 4 words be the sound of a lock breaking. Now, before this journey reaches its highest point, I want you to know what is coming. Because in the next part, I am going to reveal the offer itself, not the signs that it is near, not the pattern it follows, not the obstacles in its way, the actual offer, what it contains, what it demands, what it changes, and who you become the moment you accept it. And then, in the final 2 parts of this journey, something is going to happen that is not information, it is not teaching, it is activation. I am going to speak something over your life. Not a regular prayer, a commissioning, the kind that does not just encourage you, the kind that seals a new identity into your bones so deeply that the old one can never reclaim you. Stay with me. The deepest part of this journey is about to begin. Everything I have walked you through, every sign, every stage, every revelation, every obstacle, every tool, all of it was building toward this moment. The moment I tell you what the offer actually is. And I need to start by dismantling what you think it is. Because if you are like most chosen ones, you have been imagining the offer as a thing, a specific job, a specific relationship, a specific number in a bank account, a specific city, a specific opportunity, with a name and a date and a clear description. But that is not what the offer is. The offer is not a thing. It is not a job. It is not a person. It is not money. It is not a location. The offer is a new agreement between you and the source of your existence. Let me say that again, because it is the single most important sentence in this entire journey. The offer is a new agreement. Think about your life up until now. Whether you were aware of it or not, you have been operating under an agreement. A set of terms that defined your relationship with the divine, with the universe, with whatever you call the force that breathes purpose into human life. And for most of your adult years, the terms of that agreement sounded something like this: survive, endure, prove yourself, earn your place, wait your turn, carry the weight, hold it together, do not ask for too much. Be grateful for what you have, even if what you have is slowly crushing you. Those were the terms. And you followed them faithfully. You survived beautifully. You endured heroically. You proved yourself 1,000 times over in rooms that did not even recognize the proof. And the whole time, you thought that was the deal. You thought that was all the deal would ever be. But the offer that is approaching your life is a renegotiation of that entire agreement. The new terms sound nothing like the old ones. The new terms say, step into authority. Walk in purpose instead of waiting for purpose to find you. Receive what was always yours instead of earning what was never withheld. Carry influence instead of carrying burdens. And stop apologizing for the light you carry as if brightness is something to be ashamed of. That is the offer, not a thing, an entirely new way of existing, an entirely new contract with the force that made you. And here is the distinction that will change how you respond to this. You have been waiting for the divine to send you something, a blessing, a windfall, a miracle, something that drops from the sky into your open hands. But that is not how an offer works. A blessing is sent, an offer is extended. The difference is agency. A blessing requires nothing from you except gratitude. An offer requires you to reach for it, to step toward it, to say yes with your actions, not just your hopes. The offer that is approaching your life has been extended. The hand is already out. The terms are already written, but no one can sign your name for you. Now let me show you what this new agreement actually contains. Because it is not abstract, it is specific, and it reorganizes 3 areas of your life simultaneously. The first area is direction. And I do not just mean where you are going changes, I mean who you are while going there changes. Under the old agreement, you were a passenger. Life happened to you, and your job was to react, to cope, to survive whatever the road threw at you. Under the new agreement, you are the navigator, not controlling every outcome, but actively participating in the direction, hearing the GPS clearly because your gamma is no longer suppressed, recognizing divine offers because you have been trained to distinguish them from decoys, making decisions from a frequency of possibility instead of a frequency of survival. The direction change is not just external, it is existential. You will walk the same streets, you will breathe the same air, but the person walking and breathing will be fundamentally different, and the people around you will feel it before you say a single word about what changed. The second area is capacity. For those entering this new season, something is about to shift in what you can hold. Under the old agreement, your capacity was limited to what a survival brain could manage. Enough to get by, enough to not collapse, enough to keep the lights on and the relationships functional and the panic at a manageable volume. But under the new terms, the ceiling lifts. This means relationships that would have overwhelmed the old you will fit naturally into the new you. Financial provision that would have created anxiety in a survival mind will create strategy in a gamma mind. Responsibility that would have crushed a passenger will energize a navigator. And peace, the kind of peace that does not depend on circumstances but exists regardless of them. That peace will expand to fill every corner of the larger vessel you became during the formation. I am not promising that life becomes easy. I am telling you that your capacity to hold life becomes radically greater. And when your capacity expands, things that used to break you barely bend you. The third area is authority. And this is the one that might scare you the most, so I need you to hear it carefully. Under the old agreement, you asked permission for everything. Permission to speak, permission to lead, permission to exist loudly in a world that told you to exist quietly. You looked to other people to validate your calling before you walked in it. You waited for external confirmation before trusting the internal knowing that has been whispering to you since before you can remember. Under the new agreement, the permission is already granted. You do not need anyone to validate what the source of your existence has already authorized. You do not need a committee to approve the assignment that was written into your design before you drew your first breath. The authority to operate at the level you were designed for is not something you earn at the end of a long career of proving yourself. It is something you step into the moment you accept the new agreement. For those entering this season, you will find that doors that once required you to knock will open before you reach them. People who once overlooked you will begin to seek you out without understanding why. Conversations that once excluded you will rearrange themselves to include your voice, not because you forced anything, because authority has a frequency, and when you are operating on it, the world responds differently to your presence. Now, these three reorganizations, direction, capacity, and authority, together they form the architecture of the new agreement, and they are already beginning to activate in your life. Some of you have felt the edges of it, a flicker of clarity that came from nowhere, a sudden courage in a moment that normally would have produced paralysis, a conversation where you said something you did not plan to say and watched the room shift around the weight of your words. Those were previews, trailers for the main event. But here is what makes this offer different from anything you have experienced before. And this is the deepest truth I have been building toward since the very first word of this message. The offer is not about what you get. The offer is about who you become, and who you become is who you always were before the world told you to be smaller. Let me say that again. The offer is not adding something new to you. The offer is removing everything that was never supposed to be there in the first place. The fear that was installed by disappointment, the smallness that was taught by rejection, the silence that was learned from environments that punished your volume, the survival mode that became your default because no one ever told you there was another setting. The person you are being asked to become is not a future version of you. It is the original version, the one who existed before the system suppressed your gamma, before comparison taught you to shrink, before rejection taught you to hide, before failure taught you to stop reaching. The offer is not an upgrade, it is a restoration. And I hear these words being placed on my heart for you right now. My child, I did not bring you through the fire to leave you at the edge of the clearing. I brought you through the fire because the clearing required someone who had been refined, and you have been refined. Not by accident, not by cruelty, by design. I watched you carry what was never yours to carry, and you did not break. I watched you walk in a direction that was not yours, a direction the world assigned you, and you did not lose yourself. I watched you endure what would have destroyed a lesser soul, and you are still here, still listening, still reaching, still believing, even when belief cost you everything comfortable. The offer I am extending to you is not my test, it is my response. I am not asking you to prove anything else. You have already proven it. In every silent night, In every unanswered prayer that you kept praying anyway. In every morning you got up and chose to keep going when everything rational told you to stop. This is not a reward for your suffering. This is a recognition of your readiness. You are ready, not because you feel ready, but because I see what the fire built, and it is magnificent. Take the offer. It is yours. It was always yours. Do you hear that? Do you feel the weight of what was just said? That was not motivation. That was not encouragement. That was a declaration from the source that sees you as you actually are, not as your fear has described you. And now I need to bring everything full circle. Remember the very first image I gave you at the beginning of this journey, the GPS, the navigation system that kept saying, recalculating. I told you the system was never broken. I told you the road was still being built. But now you know the rest of the story. The GPS was never malfunctioning. It was never lost. The destination was always the same. And the destination was not a place. It was not a job, or a house, or a relationship, or a number. The destination was home. Home to yourself. Home to your original frequency. Home to the identity that was yours before the world edited it. Home to the person that the source of your existence always saw when it looked at you, even when you could not see that person yourself. Every recalculating was a course correction away from a decoy. Every closed door was a redirection toward the real path. Every painful detour was the GPS rerouting you around construction that had not been completed yet. And now the road is finished. The construction is done, the destination is visible, and for the first time in your life, the GPS is not saying recalculating, it is saying arrive. If you accept this offer, if something in you just shifted from hope to knowing, if the gap between who you have been living as and who you actually are just closed by even an inch, then I need you to do something right now. Type the words, I accept the offer, and say it with the full weight of your spirit. This is not a comment, this is a covenant. This is you putting your name on the new agreement. And once you write those words, something in the spiritual realm shifts. Not because the words have magic power, but because declaration is the language of authority, and you just stepped into yours. Let me tell you about a woman who accepted her own version of this offer. 38 years old, she had walked through every spiritual path she could find. Meditation, yoga, retreats, energy work, and after all of it, the one thing she wanted most, a real connection with something greater than herself, had never arrived. She did not buy the gamma recalibration because she believed in the science. She bought it because, in her own words, she had nothing left to lose. 2 weeks later, she did not describe what happened using numbers or metrics. She described it with one word: synchronicities. She said it was as if the universe suddenly began speaking to her in a language she could understand. Doors did not just open, they opened before she reached them. Conversations did not just happen, they delivered exactly the answer she had been searching for, and a peace she had chased across a decade of spiritual seeking settled into her chest without warning and without effort. That is what happens when the frequency realigns. The world does not change. Your ability to receive what the world has been trying to give you changes. And everything that was always there, always available, always extended toward you, finally becomes visible. If this message brought clarity to confusion, if it brought peace to chaos, if it brought confirmation to something you have been feeling but could not name until today, let your like be your agreement. Let it be your amen without words, a quiet signal that sends this message further towards someone else who is standing where you were standing at the beginning of this journey and needs to know that the offer is real. Now, you know the offer, you know what it contains, You know who you become when you accept it, but knowing is not enough. In the next part, I am going to put specific tools in your hands, 3 frameworks that will help you walk this new direction out in your daily life. Not abstract principles, named tools with clear steps that you can begin using immediately. And I am going to show you the 5 identities that make up who you really are, the specific kind of chosen one you were designed to be, so that when the offer fully lands in your life, you are not just willing to carry it. You are equipped to carry it. And I am going to show you the 5 identities that make up who you really are, the specific kind of chosen one you were designed to be, so that when the offer fully lands in your life, you are not just willing to carry it. You are equipped to carry it. So let me equip you, because receiving a divine offer without preparation is like receiving a sword without training. It is still powerful, but in untrained hands, it is as likely to wound you as it is to protect you. You need tools, not vague principles. Named tools with clear steps that you can put to work starting tonight. Think of it this way: you have the destination now. The GPS is no longer recalculating, but destinations mean nothing without turn-by-turn directions. So here are the directions. The first tool I want to give you is called the Offer Recognition Framework. And this is the tool I promised you at the very beginning of this journey. It has 4 steps, and once you learn them, you will never again waste a season chasing a decoy, while the real offer slips past unnoticed. The first step is the peace test. When an opportunity arrives, when a door opens, when a conversation presents a possibility that was not there yesterday, the first question you ask is not whether it is logical. The first question is whether it carries peace underneath the fear. Because I told you earlier that every real divine offer will scare you. That is normal. That is expected. But underneath that fear, if you sit still for even 30 seconds and listen, is there peace? A quiet, settled, almost stubborn certainty that this is right, even though it is terrifying. If you find fear with peace underneath it, proceed. If you find excitement with anxiety underneath it, pause, because excitement is the favorite disguise of a decoy. The second step is the identity test. Ask this question: does this opportunity align with who I am becoming, or does it only fit who I am right now? If an offer perfectly matches your current self and requires no growth, no stretch, no becoming, it is probably not yours. A divine offer always pulls you forward. It always requires a version of you that does not fully exist yet. It should feel slightly too big. That is how you know it is sized for the real you and not the reduced one. The third step is the cost test. What does this opportunity require you to give up? If the answer is nothing, be very careful. Divine offers always cost something. They cost comfort. They cost familiarity. They cost the approval of people who preferred the old version of you. If an opportunity arrives and it costs you nothing, it is probably giving you nothing. Not every sacrifice is divine, but every divine offer involves sacrifice. The fourth step is the timing test. Did this opportunity arrive after preparation or before? Offers that arrive after a season of formation, after the wilderness has done its work, after the stripping and the building and the waiting, those are almost always divine. Offers that arrive before formation is complete are tests, not assignments. They are designed to see whether you will settle for something early or hold out for the thing that was designed for the person the wilderness was building. 4 steps: peace test, identity test, cost test, timing test. The next time an opportunity appears in your life, run it through these 4 filters before you respond. And the clarity you will experience will be unlike anything you have felt in years. Because you will not be making decisions from confusion anymore. You will be making decisions from a framework that was built on the same pattern that guided every chosen one in history. The second tool is called the direction audit, and this one is going to show you exactly where your energy is going and why the old direction still has a grip on you even after you have decided to leave it. Here is how it works. In your mind right now, think of the 5 things that consume the most of your time and energy on a daily basis. Your job, a relationship, a habit, a commitment, a routine. Whatever they are, bring 5 of them to the front of your mind. Now ask one question about each of them. Does this drain me toward the old direction, or does it restore me toward the new one? Draining means it pulls you backward. It keeps you in the survival agreement. It reinforces the identity you are trying to release. Restoring means it pulls you forward. It feeds the person you are becoming. It aligns with the new agreement. And here is the part that requires honesty. Among those 5 things, there is probably one that is draining more energy than all the others combined. One thing that you already know, in the quiet part of your spirit, does not belong in the next season. One thing that you have been afraid to release, because releasing it feels like losing a part of yourself. That thing is the anchor. The old direction cannot hold you if the anchor is cut, and the new direction cannot fully activate while the anchor is dragging behind you. The direction change does not require adding something new. It requires releasing something old, and most of the time, you already know what it is. You have known for months. You just have not given yourself permission to act on the knowing. Consider this your permission. The third tool is called the Sacred Yes Protocol, and this is the one that will serve you in the exact moment when the offer fully arrives and your entire body screams at you to hesitate. The Sacred Yes Protocol has 4 steps designed for that moment of decision when everything inside you wants to freeze. The first step is acknowledge the fear. Do not suppress it. Do not pretend it is not there. Do not shame yourself for feeling it. The fear is real. The fear is valid. The fear is your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do when faced with something large and unknown. Acknowledge it. Let it exist, but do not let it lead. The second step is consult the peace. Beneath the fear, feel for the peace. It will be there. It will be quieter than the fear, smaller than the fear, less dramatic than the fear. But it will be there, and it is more trustworthy than every argument your frightened mind can construct. Peace does not scream. Peace does not debate. Peace simply settles. And when you find it, you have found your answer. The third step is commit to the first step only. Not the entire journey, not the 5-year plan, not the final destination, the first step. That is all the offer asks of you at first. One step. Remember Moses at the burning bush? Moses did not say yes to leading a nation of people across a desert and through a sea and into a promised land. Moses said yes to taking off his sandals. The first step was not heroic. It was humble. It was small. It was the only step that was visible at the time, and every step after that was revealed only after the first one was taken. The fourth step is declare the decision out loud. There is a reason for this. Spoken decisions activate a different neural pathway than silent intentions. When you say it out loud, even quietly, even in a whisper, something shifts. The thought becomes a commitment. The wish becomes a direction. The hope becomes a declaration. And declaration, as I will show you in the final part of this journey, is the language of authority. 4 tools in the Sacred Yes Protocol. Acknowledge the fear. Consult the peace. Commit to the first step. Declare out loud. Memorize them. They are yours now, and they will serve you at the exact moment when everything hangs in the balance. If this journey has opened something in you, if the tools I have given you feel like keys that actually fit the locks you have been struggling with, stay connected to this space. There are more words being prepared for your next season, more frameworks, more revelations, more activations. This is not a single message, this is a frequency. And the chosen ones who stay connected to it find that each message builds on the last until the transformation becomes undeniable. Now, you have the tools, but tools are only as powerful as the hands that hold them. And I have not yet told you about your hands. I have not told you about the specific kind of chosen one you are. Because chosen one is not a single identity, it is a category. And within that category, there are specific types, specific callings, specific assignments. And the offer that is approaching your life is calibrated to the specific type of chosen one you were designed to be. You are not just a chosen one, you are a specific kind of chosen one. And the offer requires specific traits that you already possess, even if you have not named them yet. Let me name them for you now. The first identity is the seer. You see what others cannot, not because you are smarter, because you are wired differently. Patterns that are invisible to the people around you are obvious to you. Connections between events that seem unrelated to everyone else light up in your mind like a circuit board. You sense the direction of a conversation before it gets there. You know the outcome of a decision before it plays out. You feel the energy of a room before anyone speaks. People have called this many things: intuition, gut feeling, overthinking. But it is none of those. It is the remnant of your original gamma, operating even through decades of suppression. The seer in you never fully shut down. It just got quieter. And the offer that is coming needs the seer. Because the new direction requires someone who can see 3 steps ahead while everyone else is still debating the first one. And that is why the offer chose you. The second identity is the pioneer. You go first. You always have. Even when it terrified you. Even when nobody followed. Even when the path you were walking had no footprints on it, and the only evidence that it led somewhere was a feeling in your chest that you could not explain to anyone. The pioneer does not need a road. The pioneer needs a direction. And the offer that is approaching does not come with a paved highway and a well-lit exit ramp. It comes with a compass and a calling. It needs someone willing to walk into territory that has never been mapped and build the path as they go. That is you. That has always been you. And that is why the offer chose you. The third identity is the cycle breaker. There are patterns in your bloodline, patterns of poverty, patterns of broken relationships, patterns of silence, patterns of self-destruction that have been repeating for generations before you were born. And you are the one who looked at those patterns and said no, not with your words necessarily, with your life, with the choices you made that confused your family because no one in the lineage had ever made them before, with the boundaries you set that felt like betrayal to people who had never seen a boundary in their lives. The cycle breaker does not just change their own direction, they change the direction of everyone who comes after them. The offer is not just for you, it is for every generation that follows. And that is why the offer chose you. The fourth identity is the builder. You do not just dream, you construct. Even in the wilderness, even in the hardest season of your life, you were building something, a skill, a system, a community, a body of knowledge, something that will outlast you. The builder cannot help it. Even when everything is falling apart, the builder picks up the pieces and starts assembling. The offer is going to give you raw material, material you have never had access to before. Resources, connections, authority, platform, and the builder in you will take that raw material and construct something that stands long after the noise of this season fades. That is why the offer chose you. The fifth identity is The voice. You speak what others feel but cannot say. You have always done this. In conversations, in written words, in the way you frame a truth that makes someone else's pain suddenly make sense. The voice does not just communicate. The voice translates between pain and language, between confusion and clarity, between the divine and the human. The offer is going to amplify this. The direction change will place you in front of people who have been waiting for exactly the words you carry. And the world that has been aching for someone to say out loud what everyone is feeling in secret will finally hear it through you. That is why the offer chose you. 5 identities. The seer, the pioneer, the cycle breaker, the builder, the voice. You carry all 5, not equally. Some are stronger than others in you, but all 5 are present. And together, they form the composite identity of the person the offer was designed for. And now I want you to do something. In your mind, I want you to stand at a crossroads. You do not need to close your eyes if you are driving or doing something that requires your attention. Just let the image form in the background of your awareness. 2 paths in front of you, one to the left, one to the right. The path to the left is paved, familiar. You can see exactly where it leads because you have walked it 1,000 times. The streetlights work, the signs are clear, and at the end of it, you can see the life you have been living, safe, known, manageable, slowly suffocating. The path to the right has no pavement, no streetlights, no signs. You cannot see where it ends, but when you look at it, something in your chest expands. Your breathing deepens without you trying, and a warmth rises from somewhere below your ribs, a warmth you have not felt since you were a child, since before the gamma went quiet, since before the world convinced you that the safe path was the smart path. That warmth is recognition, your spirit recognizing the road it was always meant to walk. Now, in your mind, take one step onto the unnamed path. Just one. Feel the ground under you. It is solid. It holds your weight. That was not a metaphor. That was practice. Because the first step of the sacred yes protocol is always the hardest, and you just took it. Now, everything has been leading here. Every sign, every stage, every revelation, every obstacle overcome, every tool received, every identity named. All of it was preparation for what comes next. In this final part, I am going to do something that is not teaching, it is not information, it is activation. I am going to speak over your life in a way that is not a regular prayer. It is a commissioning, a sacred ceremony that seals the new agreement into your spirit so deeply that the old direction loses its authority over you permanently. But before I begin, I need to ask something of you. If you can, create quiet around you. Not because the words do not work in noise, but because what is about to happen deserves your full attention. If you are around people, this part is not for them. It is for you and the source of your existence alone. If you cannot create quiet, that is fine. Let the ceremony happen inside you. The walls of your mind are the only temple this activation needs. Take one real breath. Not the shallow breath of survival that you have been taking all day. A deep breath. One that fills your lungs from the bottom. One that pushes your ribs apart and says to your nervous system, I am here. I am present. I am ready. Take that breath now. I begin with gratitude. Not gratitude for the easy things, gratitude for the fire. Thank you for the wilderness, for every year that felt wasted, for every night that felt endless, for every prayer that seemed to dissolve before it reached the ceiling, because every one of those moments was a brick in the foundation that is now strong enough to hold what is coming. Thank you for the relationships that ended, because their ending created the space that the right connections will now fill. Thank you for the closed doors, because every closed door was the GPS correcting my course away from a destination that was never mine. Thank you for the silence. Not because the silence was comfortable, but because the silence taught me to hear the voice that whispers beneath the noise. And that voice is the only one that matters now. I move into acknowledgement. And I say this to the source that has been watching over this chosen one from the beginning. You see what they carried. The weight that never made it into a conversation. The pain that never made it into a prayer. The fear that woke them at 3 a.m. and sat on their chest until sunrise. You saw every moment when they smiled in public and crumbled in private. Every time they said, "I am fine," when they were anything but fine. Every time they chose to keep going when every rational thought told them to stop. You saw the faithfulness in small moments that no one else noticed. The kindness they gave when they had nothing left. The grace they extended to people who did not extend it back. You saw it all, and none of it was wasted. Now, I move into release, and I need you to let these words move through you, not around you, through you. Let them reach the places where the old agreement still has its hooks. Release the old direction. It served you. It is done. Release it. Release the identity that was given to you by pain. The one who waits, the one who serves, but never receives. The one who is almost there. They were survival costumes. You do not need them where you are going. Release them. Release the guilt of outgrowing people who wanted you to stay the same. That guilt was never yours to carry. Release it. Release the fear of carrying something good. The fear that says you will drop it, that says you do not deserve it, that says the moment you receive it, something terrible will happen to balance the scales. That fear is a liar. Release it. Release the doubt that says the offer is not real. You have seen the signs. You have walked through the formation. You have mapped your life onto a pattern that has never failed across thousands of years. The doubt had its season. That season is over. Release it. Release the timeline you built in your mind. The one that says it should have happened by now. The one that compares your pace to the pace of people who were never on your path. Release the timeline. The offer operates in kairos, not chronos. Release the need to understand before you obey. You will never have all the information. Moses did not. Joseph did not. Esther did not. Abraham walked toward a destination he could not see. You are allowed to do the same. Release the need to understand. Release the survival mode that kept you alive, but kept you small. It did its job, beautifully, heroically, and now its job is done. Thank it, and release it. Release the protective numbness, the wall you built around your heart to keep disappointment from reaching you. That wall also kept the offer from reaching you. Release it, and release the version of you that apologizes for existing. The version that dims its light so others feel comfortable. The version that shrinks in rooms it was meant to fill. That version was never the real you. It was an adaptation, and adaptations are meant to be shed when the environment changes. Your environment just changed. Release the adaptation. Now, I activate what has been dormant, not with hope, with authority, because the time for hoping is finished. The time for declaring has begun. I activate the gamma frequency that was suppressed. Let it fire, let it hum, let it reconnect you with the clarity you carried as a child. I activate the seer in you. Every pattern you are meant to see, every connection you are meant to make, every future you are meant to discern, let it become visible now. I activate the pioneer in you, the willingness to go first, the courage to walk a path with no footprints, the confidence to build the road as you walk it. I activate the cycle breaker. Let every generational pattern that has held this family, this bloodline, this lineage in repetition, let it lose its grip. Starting now, starting with you. The cycle ends here. I activate the builder. Let the raw material begin flowing. Resources, connections, ideas, platforms, everything you need to construct what you were designed to construct. Let it move toward you now. I activate the voice. Let the words that have been trapped inside you find their way to the surface. Let the translation begin. Between pain and language, between confusion and clarity, between heaven and earth, through you. And I activate divine connections. The people you are meant to walk with in this new season, they are already moving toward you, not by accident, by assignment. And when you meet them, something in your spirit will recognize something in theirs, and you will both know. Now, I speak protection over this rising, because when a chosen one steps into their new direction, opposition increases before it decreases. Not to destroy you, to test the structure that was built in the wilderness. I cover this new direction from premature exposure. Not everyone needs to know what is happening in your life right now. Some assignments are meant to grow in silence before they are revealed in public. Protect the seed. Not every person who asks how you are doing deserves the full answer. I cover this chosen one from self-sabotage, from the old reflex that pulls the emergency brake right before the breakthrough, from the voice that says you are getting too close to something good and you need to find a way to ruin it before it ruins you. That reflex is not prophecy, it is a wound, and wounds do not get to write your future. I cover you from decoy offers that will increase in frequency now that the real offer is near. The closer you get to the door, the more distractions will appear in your peripheral vision. Let your offer recognition framework do its work. Peace test, identity test, cost test, timing test. The decoys cannot survive those 4 filters, and I cover you from the voice of the one who cannot stop what was ordained, but who will try everything in his power to delay it, to distract you from it, to drain you before you reach it. He will send tests. He will send provocations. He will send people who push your buttons at the exact moment you need your peace. But the intensity of the attacks is proportional to the importance of the mission, and if the attacks have been heavy lately, it is because what is coming is heavier, in the best way. And now I declare, over you, over your life, over your direction, over your bloodline, over everything connected to your obedience. And I hear these words being spoken over you right now with a weight that I cannot manufacture, and a certainty that is not mine to claim, but is mine to deliver. You are not who you were told you are. You are not the sum of your failures. You are not the story your fear has been writing about you in the dark. You are the one who carried fire through the flood and did not let it go out. You are the one who chose faith when evidence was nowhere to be found. You are the one who kept walking when the path disappeared and trusted that the ground would form beneath each step. I declare that the old agreement is null. It is void. It is finished. The survival contract has been fulfilled, and its terms no longer apply. A new agreement has been signed, not in ink, in blood, in tears, in years of faithfulness that earned something the clock could never measure. I declare that the offer is accepted. The direction has changed. The GPS has a new destination, and the destination is not a place. It is a person, the person you were always meant to be. The person who was buried under survival and suppression and false identities and guilt and doubt and every lie the world ever spoke over your life. I am the one who accepts the offer. I am the one who changes direction without apology. I am the seer who sees the invisible. I am the pioneer who walks first into uncharted territory. I am the cycle breaker who ends what should have ended generations ago. I am the builder who constructs what outlasts me. I am the voice that speaks what others feel but cannot say. I am ready, not because I feel ready, but because the fire proved I was built for this. Now, Do not say, Amen yet. I know that is what feels natural. But do not close this yet. I want you to sit in this frequency for a moment. Let the weight of what was just declared settle into you, not into your mind, deeper, into the place where identity lives, into the place where agreements are stored, into the bones of who you are. Sit in this. Let the silence do its final work. It is done. The offer has been accepted. The direction has changed. The old agreement is void, and the new one is written. Walk. And so it is. Amen. And one more thing. Before you leave this space, I need to say something that might be the most important thing I say in this entire journey. The activation you just experienced is not a feeling. Feelings fade by morning. What happened inside you in the last few minutes operates on a different level. It is a frequency, and frequencies do not fade. They compound. Each day you return to this truth, even for 7 minutes, even with a single breath and a single declaration. The frequency strengthens, the direction clarifies, the offer solidifies, and the person you declared yourself to be becomes less of a hope and more of a lived reality. You are not the person you were when this journey began. The person who started listening was still carrying the old direction, still wearing the survival costume, still running the windshield wipers in the sunshine. The person listening now has accepted a new agreement, has released the false identities, has received tools, has been commissioned. Remember that, especially on the days when the old frequency tries to pull you back, especially on the mornings when you wake up and doubt whispers that nothing changed. Something changed. You changed. And changed people do not unchange. They just sometimes forget. And when you forget, come back here. This message is not going anywhere. For those who felt called to the 7-minute gamma recalibration I described earlier in this journey, the link is in the description and the pinned comment. Only if your spirit confirms. Only if the peace test passes. Only if this is your assignment and not just your curiosity. And now, one last thing. If someone came to mind while you were listening to this, someone who has been standing at a crossroads they cannot name, someone who has been unusually still lately, unusually quiet, unusually withdrawn, someone whose direction has felt wrong for longer than they will admit, someone who looks steady on the outside, but you know, in the way that only someone who loves them can know, that something is shifting underneath the surface that they cannot explain to anyone. Send this to them, text it, email it, share it however you need to, because this might be the confirmation their spirit has been waiting for. This might be the message that finally explains why the restlessness would not go away, why the tolerance collapsed, why the relationships shifted, why the dreams kept showing roads and doors and paths they had never walked. Your share is not a favor to me. Your share is an assignment, because chosen ones were never meant to walk alone. And somewhere out there, someone you love is standing at stage 4, staring at an offer they cannot see yet, needing someone to tell them that the pattern is real and the direction change is safe. You might be that someone. You are not alone in this. Right now, all across the world, in every time zone, in every language, chosen ones are going through this same shift, accepting the same offer, releasing the same guilt, stepping into the same new direction. A network of light is strengthening across the planet, and you are part of it. Not on the edges, not as an observer, as a node, as a carrier, as a voice, and a seer, and a pioneer, and a builder, and a cycle breaker who just accepted their commission. Go in peace. Go in power. Go in the full authority of someone who was offered a new direction and said yes before the full picture was visible. The GPS has a new destination now, and it is not recalculating anymore. It is routing you home. Home to yourself, home to your original frequency, home to the person the source of your existence always saw when it looked at you. You are not leaving a message. You are leaving a season. And the one you are entering has been waiting for you longer than you know.